Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And the police, of course, are not your friends. We keep saying that. But this particular story of a very bad policeman will astound you. Not just of what he's done, and what he's done is bad enough, but what happened to him afterwards. How was he allowed to keep his job so long? How is he not in prison for like 20 years? It seems to have been covered up. You have Mark Rowley, the new head of the Metropolitan Police, because of course it's always the Metropolitan Police, and he has said he wants to, clean the Met and clean all these people out. Well, he could have started by doing people like this. When the whole culture of the Met is summed up in one detective, I think. We're going to go along with him. His name is Warren Arter. We're going to talk about him now. And it is a truly astounding record of awfulness that this guy has got. And he's got away with it with people knowing for such a long time. Let's have a look. And honestly, it's astounding. Here goes. So this, like I say, this is absolutely astonishing, isn't it? Why did it take 7 years to sack a man who loved various substances and to be in a room full of many people who were all doing the same thing? This Met detective in the elite particular squad that investigates attacks on women. Blimey, the words are hard on this one, isn't it? But anyway, and why has he kept his pension? This is you should lose your pension. Anyway, Warren Arter was suspended after being investigated over anonymous claims. It was alleged he abused his position, attended parties where various substances were available. It's estimated he has earned around £400,000 out of the public purse, because it comes out of the police funds, since he was suspended over these claims. So we, the taxpayer, have paid over £400,000 to keep this man in a lifestyle he'd become accustomed to. It's a joke. And one of the problems you have now, this particular one, thankfully, says an anonymous tip-off. If that's one of the other policemen giving that off, then it's about bloody time, because there is a lot of this, and I've said it time and time again in all the videos I do about policemen, that it's not just the bad ones, and there seems to be an awful lot of them. It's all the good ones don't say anything, and so they're all guilty. So let's hope that this one, this anonymous tip-off, was another cop. But there's no guarantee it was, because after all, it was anonymous. And until you know that it was another policeman that tipped him off, then you can't trust any of them. Anyway, the crime-fighting charity Crime Stoppers received an anonymous tip-off in January 2016, so 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago now, that a detective in one of Scotland Yard's elite Sapphire units, which investigates the R of women and serious sexual offences, had an inappropriate relationship with the victims. Because of course they do. They're psychopaths. When you are standing in a room and you're scoping and you're looking for the vulnerable, the drunk, the easily changeable, the victims, you are a psycho. And there's too many policemen like that. They learn to recognise the signs and they home in on it for their own nefarious purposes. That is why there's so much awfulness in the police. They get trained to recognise these signs, and then they use their training for that purpose. It's disgusting what the police are. And I do, regular viewers know, I've done so many videos about how awful the police are, and 9 times out of 10, it's sex, rather than like money or anything. It's sex every time. Anyway, the report referred to 2 women, and further alleged the officer was dating another vulnerable woman whom he'd met during his latest job attached to the Met Police Community Safety Unit, which probes domestic, DA, physicality and hate crimes. Actually, I can say domestic abuse. It's DV, you can't say. Anyway, the intelligence was referred to the force's line of duty anti-corruption squad, and the officer identified as a recently promoted detective inspector in his mid-40s, Warren Arter. So this has been going on for years and years and years, and he's had promotions while this was going on. It's astounding, isn't it? Ironically enough, several years earlier, the accused officer had been commended for his team's outstanding work in achieving the best detection rate in the Met for serious sexual offences. Well, all you need to do now to break that record is to go in and just select 9 random cops in the Met, and chances are 3 of them will be guilty of something similar. A covert operation was set up to probe the claims, and several months later, senior figures in the Met's Directorate of Professional Standards decided there was sufficient evidence to arrest Arter on suspicion of alleged misconduct in public office. And there's a picture of him thinking he can get away with everything, because they all do. They all do. As soon as they put that uniform on, as soon as they get that warrant card, they think they are untouchable. And so it was that one cold, foggy Tuesday morning in December 2016, Arter's colleagues were waiting to take him into custody when he returned from a holiday in Las Vegas and Jamaica. I hope you had a good holiday, because it'll be the last one, mate. Neighbours recall a police van being parked around the corner at 6:30 a.m. and sniffer dogs being deployed at his semi-detached house in a quiet suburban street in southeast London. They watched as the newly married Arter was taken away to be quizzed. I bet his newly married wife was not impressed. I wonder if he's still married. What police discovered during the subsequent search of his property would send shockwaves through the DPS. How bad is it if they are shocked? We'll get there. It soon transpired that Arter had inappropriate contact with other victims of crime. He was also a regular user of Colombia's finest and had possibly supplied the substance to others, and had attended parties where product was used. Be careful here. And he turned a blind eye to any wrongdoing that was going on. His phone and its protective case tested positive for traces of the old Colombian, but police were initially thwarted in their attempts to examine his electronic devices after Arter provided them with false PIN codes. His arrest should have marked the swift end to his career in the Met, which he had joined in 1996. But in an indictment of the police disciplinary process, it would take a further 7 years, during which time Arter was suspended on full pay at a total cost of £400,000. And then he was eventually sacked. Sacked, not jailed. But it's unbelievable, isn't it? In May, after he was finally dismissed for misconduct, Chief Superintendent Trevor Laurie of the Met said, "Being a warranted officer is a privilege, one that D.I. Arter has abused. It is right that he's been held to account for his actions and will no longer be a police officer." He's only one. There's thousands. Mark Rowley, a couple of weeks ago, I did the video on this. Mark Rowley, who's the Chief Commissioner of the Met, said there are, and I quote, thousands of officers currently being investigated. There's over 1,000 officers in the Met alone being investigated for sex offences. Let that sink in. This is why I say that police are they're just not your friends. They are the worst of the worst. The job attracts psychopaths. The job attracts sexual offenders. The job attracts the very worst people. Why did it take so long for justice to catch up with Arter, who's now 53? The tattoo-clad detective who posed bare-chested in a selfie obtained by the Mail. There's the picture. Gotta be honest, 53, yeah, alright, he's kept his looks, considering the amount of toot he's had up with the old bonk. Anyway, why, despite what appears to be clear evidence of criminal conduct, including pictures of paraphernalia and text to suspected dealers found on his phone, was he not prosecuted in court? It's because the police would rather fire you, get you out of the way. Better still, you don't get fired, you get resigned, yeah? That's what they call getting resigned. They give you the option. We'll fire you or you resign. Just resign and go. That's what they prefer. By escaping criminal charges, the £60,000 a year disgraced officer will one day be eligible to claim a significant portion of his police pension. The Mail has spent weeks investigating the latest scandal to engulf Sir Mark Rowley's Metropolitan Police, following the jailing of disgraced former officers Wayne Couzens and David Carrick for the M and Serial R, respectively. This is a long story, and I'm not going to go into it. If you see it there, you can go and read it yourself if you want it. But the question remains: how does a man like this, a man guilty of so many crimes, first of all, escape prosecution, and secondly, keep his pension? So Mark Rowley has some serious questions to answer. Now, I know he wasn't the Chief Commissioner at the time all this went through. That was your previous one, the little woman. But even so, he's still the one with whom the buck stops. How has this even happened? Why has he not been pushing for this man to be prosecuted? It sends the wrong message. It lets every other copper know they can more or less get away with anything they like. They're not your friends. I keep saying it. And no matter how many videos I do, there will always be more. And I will bring them to you. And for this one, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to come up and we'll round off the video. Time and time again, I keep doing these videos about how many bad cops there are. And I keep saying at the end of every one, why? Why have we got so many bad cops? Why do we keep hiring them? Why is nobody vetting these policemen? And I keep having to say it. Somebody needs to go through and vet every single policeman in the country. But we need to start in the Met. The Met is the worst of the worst. I know it's the biggest, but it just seems to be all the time. It's always the Met. It's just appalling. It's appalling. When the biggest criminal organisation in this country is the police force, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Anyway, Rowley says he's on it, so it says he's going to change everything. Let's hope he does. I really do hope he does, but he needs all the help he can get, though. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, they're not your friends, and goodbye.